Hello, my friends. Well, on the culmination of my last trip into the Australian bush, I mentioned that I would do a video on bugging out and bugging in. So, to explain bugging out, first of all, say that it's a military term, and basically the military, if you're in a harbored position, safe position, and you get wind of the fact that the enemy knows where you are and is sending a strong force to absolutely eliminate you, to destroy your position and kill everyone in that position, the term is you bug out. Basically, you get the hell out of there as fast. You drop everything and you bug out. You just go to a secure location. Having said that, a lot of things in the world at the moment are very unstable, and some people have asked me, are you going to bug out? How do you bug out? What do you do? Well, so being ex-military and experienced in some of these matters and some of the research I've done on my field trips, I have to say to you that bugging out is an absolute last option. It's a last option because when you bug out, you're moving to an area that you don't know. You might be moving to an area where, I'll just adjust this, where you don't know the people. You might be moving to an area where you don't know who your enemies are. You might be moving to an area where you don't know who your friends are. You might be moving, all of those things will be true. You might be moving to an area where you're not sure what the resources are. You might be moving to an area where there is dangers from the elements, dangers from the environment, dangers from the geography. All those sorts of things have to be considered. You're going somewhere that you don't know. So I'll go into this later when I do another one on bugging in and how you can make yourself as safe as possible. Nobody, in the event of any major conflicts or any more of this lockdown argy-bargy and all the bullshit and bollocks we were subjected to during COVID. I mean, if things really go tits up again, then do you bug in? Do you bug out? Well, my suggestion to you is that we'll do one on this later. But bugging out, let's talk about bugging out. First of all, if you're going to leave everything behind and get the hell out quick, then you've got to have rehearsed it. You've got to know where you're going. And having said that, any locations that you may plan to go to need to be remote and secure. You need to think about that. When you go in there, is it going to be safe where you're going? So in that scenario, you need to have recce'd these places and planned your route and planned what you're going to need when you get there. Is there water there? Do you have food? You've got to consider Maslow's hierarchy of human needs. Water and food. Shelter. Is there an opportunity there to keep your mind safe? Or are you going to be in a threatening position where you're going to be fearful for your own existence? So you've got to consider Maslow's hierarchy of human needs, and I won't go through all of it. You can look it up if you like. Several remote locations I've literally got at least 100, because you might have to move again. As my old son Ray, which is commanding officer, in code, used to say, "Move now." And you just get settled in and you get a radio message to confirm, "Move now." And it was just to keep you on your toes. Supplies. You're not going to, if you haven't got supplies or something to live on when you're out there, you can get all romantic about living off the bush if you like. You know, bush tucker man stuff. Yeah, sure, really good. I like it and it works. So, but it's not the answer to everything. You do need to have prepared. So you need to have prepared a food cache. A food cache. For however long you think you're going to be there. Personally, I've got enough food stuffed away secretly to go for 6 months. Easy. Not that I want to bug out. But you've got to have that ready when you move in. Either out there or it's easily accessible and you can bug out and load it quickly. A fast bug out with everything you need is going to be 2 hours. So you need to think about that. You need to take enough supplies to live and survive. In my case, also to keep my dogs alive, because that's more important than my life to me. How are you going to get there? Not only the transport, never mind the transport, let's just think about the route when you're going to get out there. If you're going to bug out, you don't want people knowing where you're going. So any routes that you take should be mostly dirt roads, forestry tracks. It's easy from here. Literally, I mean, they're outside my back door. Discreet, nobody knows you're leaving. You just do it in the dead of night. Or maybe you don't get a chance to do that and you just have to pack up and go. 2 hours and go. But you need to think about routes and have them planned and rehearsed. Everything, if you're doing these sorts of things, move now, rehearse it. Like my old son Ray used to say. Vehicle. You need to keep your vehicle in good shape. Do a first parade on your vehicle every morning. I do. It sounds silly, doesn't it? I don't service it every morning, but I check important things like oil, brakes, coolant. All of those things I do before I start that car up in the morning. I check battery, clutch, everything. I do it every day because we had to in the military. Because you need that vehicle to be reliable. Keep it on a trickle charger so you know that the battery, even if it's getting old, will give you at least one start. Carry one of those new U-Butte car starters. They're great. If you get stuck, you can just plug them in and boom, your car will start. Once that alternator's running, you're going. You're on the road. Keep the vehicle fueled up. It's hard to have enough fuel to last any period of time at all these days. So you might have a few jerry cans, as I do, but I mean, the reality is that if things go really tits up, then fuel is going to be at a premium and getting it is going to be a nightmare. So that you need to consider that. And always keep your vehicle fueled enough to get the hell out of it to somewhere safe until things settle down, which they may or may not do. Standard operating procedure for us was to have everything ready, your personal kit, a bug out bag. What do you need? In your SOPs we used to have, you need things to eat with, you need things to cook with, you need spare clothing, you need a sleeping bag, you need a weapon, you need You need a toothbrush. All these things sound silly. You need water. All these little things. You need a tent, shelter, or some form of shelter. And I've turned my car into a camper. But standard operating procedures, and those things need to be ready to go at the drop of a hat. You just pack them up and go. They're there, sitting in your shed. Mine are. And I don't think I'm going to need to bug out, because I just think everything that's going on at the moment is fear-mongering and anxiety creating to keep the majority of the mutants in society shit scared and compliant. It worked during COVID. They're still doing it. However, communication. There are people that you might want to communicate with, and you can forget mobile phones and the internet if things get really bad, because electromagnetic pulse is going to wipe all of that sort of stuff out. So your communications you're going to have are going to have to be prearranged. Maybe you don't want to communicate. I'd be very, 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 very careful about telling anyone your bug out location or anything like that. Because the purpose of going bugging out is to get away. So you could have radios if you're bugging out with someone. But remember that the internet, mobile phone network, and everything will be trashed. Banks will be trashed. The first action in the outbreak of a nuclear war is to explode a nuclear weapon in space and create an EMP, takes all the satellites down. That was our strategy in Western Europe for decades. And the Russians knew it, or the USSR knew it. And it kept the peace. Mutually assured destruction. Mad. Resupply. You might have to be out there for a little while. Is there somewhere you can resupply nearby? Are food sources nearby? Is there water nearby? I'm talking animals. You know, you're not going to get prissy about it, you know, and say, oh, you can't kill kangaroos. If it goes tits up, you're going to need food, and kangaroos are good eating. You may be in reach of a rural area, and there's all sorts of food wandering around on properties around here. If push comes to shove, I wouldn't do this unless it was absolutely necessary. Then there's plenty of stock around, and you might be the only one around to take advantage of that. Water. Well, all of my bug out spots have got water. Absolutely imperative. You've got to have water. Maslow's hierarchy of human needs. You might consider that if it's possible that there are some nearby towns that you could nip into and just resupply with basic supplies after, several weeks or even days. You might need to just do that. But that would be dangerous if you got into a bug out situation. Fuel, well, again, resupply would be an issue in these circumstances. It would take days, if not weeks, for, in the event of a major conflict, days, if not weeks, for these systems that we now have in place to re-establish themselves. And, getting fuel, like during the Second World War, which it was all rationed. And I remember fuel rationing in the 70s. You had to have vouchers, and there were queues down the road for miles to fill up on fuel. So it has happened in living memory. Camouflage. The spots you go to, you're going to need to try not to be seen. So camouflage nets, using the topography of the ground, choosing dead ground that people can't see from any country roads or dirt roads that you got in on. You need to be cognizant of smoke being your worst enemy. Smoke will give you away for sure. So during the day, if you're going to light a fire, then screen it so that it doesn't give off too much light. And do it at night when there's not a lot of people around. During the day, you're just going to have to wear your thermals and use the layering system with your clothing and make sure that you're properly attired for the conditions. Don't choose, here in the winter, I wouldn't choose a mountain bug out spot. I'd choose a coastal one because even in the winter, it gets to 19 degrees down at the coast. And I've got several down at the coast and several in the mountains in the summer. So you need to think about those issues. But certainly lighting fires and noise, the principles of camouflage, let's see, shiny things, sound, silhouette. Do you create a silhouette? Shape, there are no straight lines in nature. Smell, in Vietnam, the Americans gave themselves away just by wearing deodorants and stuff, and the Viet Cong could smell them in the jungle. They could smell their cigarettes. So smell is another one. Shape, sound, silhouette, smell. I think there's 5 S's. I think I mentioned all of them. Use what's around you to cover your stuff. So, don't wear high-vis clothing, obviously, but you can use, if you're in an area, you've got to use the stuff that's around you to destroy the shape of your vehicle, to destroy the shape of your camp, because those are the things that look natural there. Camouflage nets are great if you've got one, and I have. But if you just throw them over a vehicle, there's your shape gone. People will still recognize, human eye will still recognize the shape. So you've got to break the shape up. You can do that by throwing branches over your car as well and just throwing the net over the top of it. The skills involved are quite complex, but me and my offsiders in the military, we could camouflage a whole field hospital. You wouldn't see it. You could walk right past it. So you don't want to get recognised either. So, I don't know, grow a beard or something like that if you're out there. People got quite used to other people wearing masks, and there's still mutants out there wandering around in masks these days. So, people don't particularly pay much attention to a mask. But somebody might be looking for you. Might think you're, a hazard to all the other mutants, or rather to all the mutants that are around. So you don't want people recognizing you. So you need to think about, how you can best disguise the fact that you're on the run. Shelter. Well, there's lots of ways you can make shelter. You can use natural vegetation and branches and trees and all of that bloody bare frills stuff if you want. But planning and preparation prevents piss poor performance. So you need to think about brilliant forms of shelter. Some of the best forms of shelter. I've got tarpaulins. You can destroy the shape of a tarpaulin. You can put it up anywhere, string it out between trees, and get dark, blackened out tarpaulins. If it's one of those silver ones, then just turn it inside out. They're always black on the other side. So tarpaulins are great. I mentioned that I've turned my little Subaru into a camper, which I have, and it's got several awnings on the sides. I can get quite a big living space with my camper, and certainly with the seats folded down, it forms a really good bed for me and 3 dogs. Nice and toasty warm in there. And carry a tent as well. You may find yourself in a situation where you don't want to be sleeping in the vehicle, so you might want a tent. So have a good tent, or swag, as you would say in Australia, that's going to protect you from the elements. Maslow's hierarchy of human needs. Second on the list, shelter. Defense. Look, if push comes to shove, if things really go tits up, and people know that you've prepared, and they find out where you are, they're going to want what you have. The mutants and the zombies will come looking for you. And you need to think about that. You need to think about how you're going to trap wildlife. How are you going to hunt for food? You need to practice it. It's just, this bugging out stuff's hard, isn't it? You need to practice it and be proficient at bugging out. And so, yeah, you not only do you need self-defense, because trust me, throughout history has demonstrated those people who have something and have planned ahead, all the preppers that have planned ahead, even if tomorrow it was proven that everyone that was against all of these measures that were taken during COVID, even if it was proven beyond doubt that you were right, that we were right, they're going to hate you for that. And they're going to come for you because you got it right. This is human nature. It's always the same in any epidemics. Look at smallpox. Look at the Black Death. People were horrible to each other, and it happened during COVID. Look at the way the unvaccinated were treated, like pariahs, couldn't go anywhere. Get worse if a war starts. Get worse if the balloon goes up. They will hate you. So you need to think about that to protect yourself in the event. Remember, self-defense is a legal thing. In the event of anything happening, you need to think about that. And I've thought very, very thoroughly about it. You can't break the law in your preparations. You mustn't break the law. Prepare to move. Have it ready. Practice it. During the Cold War, we had literally minutes to get out of barracks and move to a harbour area safe from tactical nuclear weapons. Because we knew we would be the ones that made the preemptive strike with tactical nuclear weapons. So we knew where these killing zones were. So we bugged out to places that, and we did this hundreds of times in West Germany and Europe. It was called Operation Fastball. And when you got that code word, you didn't matter how pissed you were. You might be downtown on the piss. You knew when you heard that, and the military police would come through town with Land Rovers and tannoys on the back, just saying fastball, fastball. And all the soldiers that were down that town getting pissed, they would all rush back to barracks and we'd be gone. And they always did it during the worst weather conditions. Operation Fastball. You'd be out within hours, 2 hours max, with everything, all the equipment, all your weapons, everything was, all your vehicles gone to a safe harbour area. Practice makes perfect. Planning, the 6 P's. Planning and preparation prevents piss poor performance. That is bugging out. You need a first aid kit. You got to have the basic medical supplies in case you hurt yourself. I mean, if you break a leg, you're in big trouble. But, hygiene. Is the water safe? If it's not, boil it. Make sure you take light a fire. Boil it. You can strain it through an old sock filled with fire charcoal from your fire and a bit of soil, and eventually it'll come clean. And you can strain any muck out of it if you don't want to drink muck. Personally, I boil it. You need a map. You need to know where you are. Of the big area, of the entire area, you need a map. So, tell nobody of your locations. People know that I'm a prepper, and they know I'm ready, so I don't care about that. But I watch what's going on very, very carefully, and you need to do that as well. You need to study what's going on. You need to know the zeitgeist, the spirit of the times. Is it now, or do I hold off? You'll know. You will know when it's time. Anyway, enough of those acronyms. Enough of the lecturing, if you like. This is just a basic outline of what it's gone to 26 minutes now. Didn't think it would last that long. A basic outline. It's definitely not easy. It's definitely not something you should consider if you can bug in. And I'll explain that in a later video. All the best to you, my friends. I have been asked to come and talk to people about this, but I haven't done it because some people once said to me when I was talking about this bugging in and bugging out, they said, oh, we couldn't do that. And I said, why can't you do it? Oh, we need our air conditioning. Air conditioning! Oh dear, I just shook my head and walked off and said, if it happens, you're going to die. People have had it too good for too long, guys. You know. If I'm talking bullshit, that's fine. But this is decades and decades of experience speaking here. With the best of the best. All right. All the best to you all. If you're listening to this, you're probably part of the best of the best. See ya. From Bozo and a Beret.